Joe, sources are indicating to me that we are live on YouTube.
Whoa.
What was that?
What's better than this? It's guys being dudes here on the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast. One more live stream for you here during the 2023 NFL Draft. We are going to talk about this seventh round and, most importantly, predict Mr. Irrelevant.
All of our 2023 NFL Draft coverage is brought to you by Ultimate Football GM. If you think you can run an NFL franchise, visit ultimate-gm.com to play the ultimate NFL GM simulation game. Start your dynasty today, and hopefully the start of your franchise is smoother than the start of our live stream here. At the end of the seventh round, Mr. Marino, we have reached the end of the rainbow. Getting ready to guess our Mr. Irrelevant picks. I have to be careful not to miss too many picks here and set off a chain where I don't get the proper player pool.
Yeah, so that's a big part of what we're doing. This is a tradition between Kyle and I. We've been doing the draft for a long time together. And whenever we get to Mr. Irrelevant, you have to try to predict it. And you get one guess and one guess only. So after the Bears make their pick at 258, and we get to 259, we invite you to join this contest. You only get one guess. So don't get in here and fill it up with 1,000 different guesses. You get one guess. So we'll tell you when we'll start accepting those guesses. And we'll see if anybody can get it right.
We have our everydayers here with our respective shows. We also have our every streamers. And I feel like Sam Tweets and Sue Ann. Tuttle, I've seen you a bunch. Shout out our every streamers here throughout the draft weekend. Do we know who pick 253 was? I do. That's the only one I don't have in the sheet.
49ers pick?
It was scheduled at some point to be a 49ers pick. I would not trust anything the sheet says at this point with all the trades that we've had. Sam Tweets. I like that. That's good, Sam.
Well, you said Sam Tweets. I don't think you meant to, but you did.
I did. Yeah. Okay, so while we are waiting, Ronnie Bell, is that your guess, or is that? And Colin, thanks for sharing and liking. While we're building up to Mr. Relevant, Javarius Owens, safety Houston, is the pick for the Giants.
Yeah, so we will say now is the time to submit your picks. So there's no reason to guess yet. No reason to guess yet.
No, San Francisco was Ronnie Bell then. Okay.
Okay, so that's
the MVP.
253.
What are you guys' takes? Instead of us reacting to some of these seventh round picks, I would love to hear, of course, the Ravens trading up for Andrew Voorhees is a very Ravens thing to do. But we would love to hear from you on what your takes are from this 2023 NFL draft as we sit here and we chat and we wait for the opportunity to predict Mr. Irrelevant. So in the comments, we need your takes on teams, their classes, individual players. We'll use the spreadsheet that we have locked and loaded, and we will peruse and make observations based on whatever takes that you guys are providing. So kind of like a mini takes on takes, Joe. Is that fair?
Mini takes on takes is a good way to put it. So we would love your participation. What stands out to you? What's your takes? What's your questions? There's a take there from Joe that I like.
Yeah. This one, let me go ahead and pull Pittsburgh up in their entirety. We have their whole draft class at this point. Obviously, I thought they knocked days 1 and 2 out of the park. We joked about that when we did the podcast this morning, Joe. But their full class today was Herbig, Corey Trice. They landed at 241, who I know there's a lot of people who are fans of, and Spencer Anderson, some might consider him a tackle. I think he was listed as a guard with the selection from Maryland. So that's a pretty darn good class for Omar Khan, huh?
Yeah, no question. And was able to move up a couple of times where it makes sense to get in position to get Broderick Jones, to be able to get Keanu Benton. You can look at this class and feel like the path for all these players, the roles that you anticipate them filling, it all just makes a lot of sense. And I feel like the value across the board was outstanding.
Yeah, I didn't think there was any area where they didn't necessarily go out of commonly accepted consensus. I think they drafted very much in line with what the external world thought Sam says the two PA teams had the best approach. We just talked about Pittsburgh, Philly, obviously Carter, Smith, Steen, Sidney Brown trading up for Keely Ringo, taking a quarterback. And then I don't know how the hell Moro Ajomo was on the board this late, but lo and behold, there he is. And that's a heck of a class for Howie Roseman on the heels of what they were able to accomplish last season and winning the NFC.
I can't decide on Mr. Irrelevant and come up with takes. Well, don't think about Mr. Irrelevant until
we
get there.
The pick is in for 256, so we've already missed one pick at 255. So have your names ready.
Yeah, I've got my short list.
Shelby Myers got a good guess here.
Well, all right. So what's this? Ingy says the Bills will win games with scores of 45-44. Maybe so, man. I'm real concerned about this defense. We'll see. Nothing different on the D-line. They don't have a Mike linebacker, but they've done a lot for their offense. So the fans who said defense schmefense, well, there you go. You got it.
And how do you react to Grant Dubose from Charlotte?
Nice
to
pick.
The Packers at 256. How do you react to kind of some of the criticism about the supporting cast that Josh Allen had last year? Because I know that was kind of the thing. It's like, hey, he doesn't have enough versus some of these other quarterbacks.
I mean, I think leaning into Gabe Davis and Isaiah McKenzie as players that were never volume players to suddenly become volume players was a bit of a miscalculation. And I think them not getting what they thought they were going to get from O.J. Howard was another miscalculation. So I think you've had some miscalculations along the way that contributed to that. But I think it's a fair criticism where it was Allen to Diggs and then what else with a new offensive play caller in Ken Dorsey. So, I mean, at the same time, literally in any statistical category of offense in the NFL last year, the Bills were top 3 in everything. But you realize that some of the efficiency and some of the critical moments, it just wasn't there. And I think it does stem from a lot of the miscalculations that we talked about there.
Denver Broncos, Alex Forsyth, center from Oregon with the third to last pick. Joe, I think now's the time everybody puts their flag in the ground. I don't want somebody to get in on Twitter too early.
All right, yeah, let's do it. But listen, you get one guess. If you have more than one guess, you're disqualified.
Whatever your first guess that you type in is your formal guess. You can't type a second guess after the fact.
Yeah,
so you need all your Mr. Irrelevance right now.
My Mr. Irrelevant pick, say my Mr. Irrelevant pick or something like that to let us know that this is your official guess.
Do you want to share yours, Joe?
Yeah, I'll wait. I'll go. My official guess for Mr. Irrelevant is going to be Brandon Joseph, safety, Northwestern.
We have DJ Dale, Shaka Hayward, CJ Johnson, Ivan Pace, Malik Cunningham, Ikena and Chukwu, I believe, Emil Ekior, Andre Carter. I'm going to go, Joe, also with a safety, Ronnie Hickman. Ohio State. Ronnie's a big hitter. And Sue Ann said,
wide receiver who could play special teams. That is not a name.
Oh, watch. He's going to nail it, though. That'll probably be it.
She also has a take DTR will start this season.
I dig it.
Who's the backup quarterback in Cleveland? I got to look this up. I'm almost
right now the backup QB?
Yeah, it's Josh Dobbs. Josh Dobbs, Kellen Mond, DTR, and Deshaun Watson is that quarterback room. Interesting.
Man, Mond's going to get bumped off, huh?
Probably.
I would expect he does. They flipped the scroller. I thought they were going to reveal it. And as soon as we are done with Mr. Irrelevant, or should I tell everybody about our friends over at Ultimate Football GM right now?
Right, as you're coming up with your official Mr. Irrelevant pick, yes, this is a great time to do it.
Well, we're right on the cusp of the end of the 2023 NFL Draft. And all of our coverage here on the Locked On Network has been brought to you by Ultimate Football GM. If you have ever dreamed of being an NFL general manager, this is the game for you because you are in charge of every strategic component of managing a franchise. Everything from roster transactions, salary cap, facilities, player injuries, ticket prices, you name it, all in a challenging and realistic game world. Ultimate Football GM is completely free and playable offline, so you can play on the go when you want to, where you want to, at any point in time. Our listeners here on the Locked On Network get a 100% free boost to their franchise when using the promo code Locked On in all caps in the game store. That is Locked On in all caps in the game store. To find the game, visit ultimate-gm.com or the app stores ultimate-gm.com. Ultimate Football GM, start your dynasty today. We thank them for their continued support of our coverage of the 2023 NFL Draft.
I'm excited. You went with a safety too, huh?
Yeah, I tried to think of a big-time hitter, special teams prowess. That's what scared me away from Brandon Joseph, because I thought about Brandon Joseph. Kendall Williamson, safety, Stanford, is our next to last pick.
All right, so the entire slate of who's available, who's not available, you can have. My backup pick was Kayvon Merriweather, but I went with
Kayvon Merriweather was on my short list as well.
Well, because I mean, and we have the same process. You probably looked at the Houston depth chart and you thought to yourself, where could they roster somebody?
Yes,
safety stands out. So,
Mr. Relevant pick is in.
Oh boy, get your guesses. I mean, well, it's probably expired.
I feel like everybody's locked and loaded.
Yeah, that's it. It's over with.
Andre Carter, Ekiyor, Eli Ricks.
I just hope somebody gets it.
DJ Dale, and Achukwu, Bajan Zero, Shaka Hayward, Ivan Pace, CJ Johnson, a wide receiver that will play special teams. And then we'll take a couple questions. Isaiah Land, is that a guess or is that it? Because that if that's the pick, that I'll be kicking myself for not picking Land. That's another good special teams candidate. And he feels like a Ramsey kind of pick, right?
Is the Texans aren't making this pick?
No, dude, I told you need to stop looking at the future picks on the queue. I've been updating them as they come on the clock.
Okay.
So do you need a mulligan on Mr. Relevant? It hasn't coming out yet.
No, I'm still sticking with the safety. No, I'll stick with it. Brandon Joseph's my pick.
Brandon Joseph's your pick?
Yep.
I gave up after about the 105th pick when we were in the pre-show stream, and all three of those picks got traded before, we were doing content, and there were terms of the trade that were coming in. And at that point, I just said, for our production sheet, I'm just going to use the scroller on the bottom ticker here. And as teams come up, I'm going to correct it.
Well, we have it. Do you want to know who it is?
Yeah, I don't need to see them walk across the stage and do the big pomp and circumstance at the end.
Mr. Irrelevant is Toledo defensive tackle DeJuan Johnson. Nobody gets it. Andre Carter, not drafted. Brandon Joseph, not drafted. Raheem Jarrett, not drafted. Emil Ekiyor, not drafted.
So, yeah, that's kind of fun, right? Would you sit? Not fun for those guys.
No.
But to reflect on players that were very commonly mocked in a high stratosphere, right? And like Brandon Joseph, based off his redshirt freshman season at Northwestern, he was a phenomenal player that year. He's done nothing but regress since, and safeties who don't test well and have struggled with open field tackling and run support is probably a bad combination. For Andre Carter, you take your metrics about pass rush productivity and put it in context by watching the film of him playing and seeing the pass rusher or the offensive tackles that he's going against. And it becomes pretty apparent pretty quick. And was there anybody that did not help themselves more at the Senior Bowl than Andre Carter?
No, I mean, it was the way he performed in competitive settings, but also his demeanor the entire time. He just didn't feel like there was a lot of energy. Didn't feel like he was really vibing with coaches or players, right? And we were on the field the whole time, and you realize that, hey, something's missing here.
We had As far as other players,
Sean Tucker.
Ali Gay was frequently considered to be a top 100 player in the early portions of the season. Wasn't that long ago where, like a couple years ago, before he came back a couple times and dealt with some adversity coming back to LSU, that was a buzzy name as kind of the next LSU pass rusher. Ekiyor was a pretty frequent day 2 mock candidate for people who did extended mocks in the summer.
It's always fun to look at this stuff, man.
Yeah, I'm just curious who else is kind of slipped. How about Diabate from Utah?
Yeah.
That was somebody we considered to be a top 100 player at the beginning of the season. Eli Ricks went in the first round of some mock drafts.
Well, imagining Diabate in the Devin Lloyd role with all the tools that he has, right. I thought there was going to be a ton of production.
How about Brenton Cox? And obviously there's some very obvious reasons why Brenton Cox did not get drafted with his departure from the team. But that was another player that was a top 50, top 75 type player.
Sean Tucker didn't get drafted.
Man, I feel for like Dante Demas, seeing him here come through here and not get drafted with how good he was before that knee injury.
Guys just don't always come back the same
somewhere. Yeah, and how about Trevor Reed, Louisville? Some people thought this was a top 10 tackle in the class back in December, January.
Man, yeah. Well, and look, the reality is, I mean, you've heard this time and time again, where it's at the later portions, you start getting to the late 7th round, it's sometimes better to get your chance to pick your team as opposed to getting drafted.
If I get into the back 50 picks, I'd rather at that point go undrafted and choose my situation and kind of try to call my own shot to bet on myself.
Mm-hmm.
Because playing time and situation and personnel is critical for a lot of the undrafted free agents. What does the UDFA from Texas A&M Commerce? What does his 2022 season look like if he didn't happen to choose the Dolphins and they lost 5 corners before the season started?
Nobody knows about him. And now he's going to be potentially a staple of that defense for years to come.
Right. Like at worst, he's the nickel for an extended period of time. Obviously, with them bringing in a 4th corner in Cam Smith, there's some long-term contract decisions with guys that are getting close to 30 in a couple years and so on and so forth. But he's going to play a lot. He played 950 snaps for the Dolphins, was one of the most targeted players in football last year, and was really good as an undrafted free agent in a man-heavy system. It's not a small thing.
Yeah.
How about Philip Lindsay? Philip Lindsay is the quintessential, right?
Yeah.
Quintessential recent UDFA story. Made the Pro Bowl, rushed for 1,000 yards for like his first 3 seasons in the NFL.
How about Michael Turk? He went back and then didn't get drafted again.
Yeah.
Weird story.
So Jalen has a take. We'll take a couple of takes here as we get ready. Joe, I'm just going to sort the team's alphabet. Oh, what happened here?
What do we see?
The rounds are not in the proper order. That's all. I can fix it.
Well, that would
call me the sheet master. We're gonna sort the teams alphabetically and be able to look at the 49ers mock draft or draft class right now. All right, Jair Brown, Jake Moody, Cameron Latu, Daryl Luter, Robert Beal, D. Winters, Braden Willis, Ronnie Bell, and a linebacker from Purdue whose first name I didn't catch because we were on the stream. His last name is Graham.
It's going to be hard to be blown away with a draft where their first pick comes at 87.
Right.
I can see roles, right? And I think that's good. I can see roles for these players. Roster ability. Needing to fill it out. I know Braden Willis is probably going to be your favorite pick of this draft class for them.
Correct. He's a player I absolutely would have loved to see the Dolphins go out and get. And, of course, McDaniel passes, and they go get Higgins from Stanford to convert to a tight end, and San Francisco a round later says, okay, we'll take the Wildcat quarterback / H-back / tight end / middle of the field pass catcher / ball carrier at time. Like he was a super versatile player, really fun. Probably a jack of all trades, master of none type of player right now. But that kind of versatility in that offense is you can take a couple spots. Shout out Halil's Real Football Talk. Cashed on a Mr. Relevant bet to be a defensive player.
Nicely done.
I was down. I think I was down a unit today last I checked. I did well on night one, though.
All of the draft bets that I made were night one.
Yeah. I got greedy because I could dig well on night one. I was
and so you're like, okay,
units,
let's go.
So then I'm like,
don't know when to stop.
Take the house money and start playing with the other stuff. And it
didn't
go great.
That's like college football Saturday. You're and it doesn't matter if you're doing well or you're not doing well. The next thing you know, you're betting on some Pac-12 game or some Mountain West game at 10 o'clock because you either need to get out of the hole or you need to capitalize on your hot streak, and it's never a good idea.
Right.
That's insane.
15 tight ends drafted. That's twice the amount of some years.
Yeah.
A bad year.
Yeah.
Suan asked, what happened to all the talk of the vet running backs getting replaced? Does Chase Brown make it okay to cut Mixon? Does Dwayne McBride enough to cut Dalvin Cook? And is Dallas going to sign another vet running back to replace Zeke?
Fumbling. What's the thing about Chase Brown and Dwayne McBride? They're both fumblers.
Yeah, they're going to be better in a stable, right?
Yeah. The Mixon thing is going to be really interesting to figure out in Cincinnati. 2 years ago, he was so good.
And last year, he was not.
Right. He's better with the worse offensive line.
I don't know that. I think any one of these teams with a player like that at running back that decides to move on, you're probably deciding to move on for salary cap purposes. And if that's the case, maybe you'll embrace the stable with a slew of young guys. That would include guys like Chase Brown, but I don't think those guys can be observed as solutions to that position, right? I do think it's interesting that Minnesota went out and re-signed Madison and then brought in another big back.
Mm-hmm. I think they're going to move on from Cook.
Minnesota's going to move on, yeah.
But do they have what they need to move on? I think that's kind of where the question becomes.
Well, are you going to lean more into the passing game? Are you going to be more of a pass-heavy offense? You trade for Hawkinson. You now draft Jordan Addison.
Right.
Sand Pete's in here, breaking news as far as I'm concerned. Lions signing Brandon Joseph. That's what I'm looking forward to hang up this call, is just sit and check out the timeline and see where all the UDFAs land.
Right.
Which is probably something we should discuss at some point on Locked On NFL Scouting. What are your thoughts? Are you reading about Bill's UDFAs?
I'm trying to see if there is any. Well, I saw that somebody had said Holiday went to Miami, and I wanted to confirm that to excite you.
Xavier Valade.
Yeah. Malik Cunningham with the Patriots. That's such a Patriots move. Don't they always do this?
Get an athletic quarterback after the draft.
Like De'Aaron King. Didn't they get De'Aaron King, or am I dreaming about that?
Oh, my. Hunter Lipke signed with Dallas, too.
Okay.
Let me see. I'm going to Twitter search Valade, see if that's Mike Garafolo 2 minutes ago. Arizona State running back Xavier Valade will sign with the Texans as an undrafted free agent with $175,000 in guarantees.
That's a pretty good chunk.
That's why you'd rather go undrafted at that point, right?
Yeah.
Because that's exactly like he's going to the backfield that's going to afford him a lot of competition to get in a roster spot and play. And they gave him a ton of guarantees too. That's a nice job for him. I mean, 175 in guarantees is not a small deal.
No.
I, of course, have to look for Joel Honigford, see if we have any news there.
Who is that?
Who is that? Joel Honigford is the former offensive tackle who converted to tight end at Michigan that I was the other.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. The name
that was the other name that I had written down on a piece of paper.
Okay.
Was Honigford,
All
no
right.
matter what.
All right.
Just an absolute mauler. Noah Grindoff to Seattle. Tanner Morgan to Pittsburgh. Halil. These are great questions for Monday's content. That's the hardest thing about being on and off the air intermittently or being on the air the entire time. Like, we got to sit down and digest it all, right? And I'd hate to have subject you guys to us sitting here scrolling through the spreadsheets to get on the same page about the classes and really digest. Joe, you said it best. It's like we have to relearn the league now.
We do.
You just had this inflection point of what's literally going to be there. These offseason rosters are going to get up to what? Is it 80?
90?
Is the cap now, or is it 90?
90.
Teams just added 40% of their rosters.
Right.
Today, yesterday, Thursday, and throughout the next 24, 48 hours. 40% of some of these rosters are going to be added in that window of time, which is really fun. And that's really fun for us. And I didn't know that's one of the reasons, Joe, why when we first made the switch for the show and we became Locked On NFL Scouting, the focus was more team building oriented. And in the midst of that being in the draft cycle, kind of setting the stage and setting the table for some of the conversations that we're going to be having through the lens of what Locked On NFL Scouting is supposed to be and what we want it to be was important as kind of foundational episodes of the show.
Mm-hmm.
And, there's going to be a lot of evaluation of teams and a lot of evaluation of rosters beyond just the topical conversations that I'm really excited about. Is it something new for us?
Mm-hmm.
It's a new way to explore the same things that everybody else does.
Through a really different lens as well, where this summer is going to be really fun. I know that NFL is not in the forefront, but it will be for us as we really analyze the league and analyze rosters and position groups, and it's going to be fun, man.
Would you be fair to say that our preparation for the 2023 NFL season from a 32-team perspective is going to mirror in many ways the way our preparation has usually been for NFL draft cycles?
Yes, 100%. 100%. And we'll get started in a couple weeks.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah, we got to do that for sure.
Absolutely. It's going to be a lot of fun. So,
yeah, we got a lot to do.
We have a lot to do, and we're going to start processing these draft classes so we can be ready for Monday content for you guys. So we're actually going to wrap. It has been awesome all weekend long hanging out with you guys. Those of you who tuned in on YouTube, those of you who listen to the podcast, we appreciate every single one of you guys for your support. We appreciate Ultimate Football GM for their support and supporting us with our NFL draft coverage. For all of you going to wire, giving us a chance on Saturday to catch our breath as the rounds unfolded a little bit. And we can't wait for everything that awaits you and us together, your teams every day here on the Locked On Network. I'm Kyle Krabs. That is Joe Marino. We are Locked On NFL Scouting with the Draft Dudes. We are proud to be part of Locked On Network. We are proud to call each and every single one of you friends of ours. We hope we continue to hear from you, Joe. We probably have to do more live streams and keep everybody connected and engaged with them. So cheers. Joe, congratulations. Another draft in the books.
Yeah.
Appreciate you. Love you, buddy. And we'll be back. Talk to y'all again soon. Thanks for checking out our coverage for the 2023 NFL Draft.